thank you very much. Welcome to the Double Door, the Double Door, the Double Door with the Monday Night All-Stars. You feeling all right?
The best is probably Nick Karras. Nick's generosity, what he's done for the Charlotte music scene cannot be duplicated, replicated, will never be, I mean, that's solid. A dream of a couple of young kids, him and his brother, and then he just turned it into something national, and now it's international.
Well, as we remember, we had Tricky Dicky Nixon as our president.
Well, I'm not a crook. I've earned everything I've got.
But 1973, we had gas lines, gas rationing. Again, interest rates. Home mortgage was 12%, if you can imagine. Just economically, not a great time. I think maybe that's why we did open a place, so people could get away from it all. This building became available, so I just had the bright idea. Well, let's just open a bar here. And so that's what we did. This was Stanleyville.
Chrono was a head shop. You could go in there, buy screens for your pipe, rolling papers, I mean, the whole 9 yards. I think they even sold Earth shoes. Do you remember Earth shoes? So, I mean, it was a cool little place.
Now, when we first opened up, the drinking age for beer and wine was 18. It was 21 for alcohol. Domestic beers were 50 cents, imports were $1, drafts were a quarter. A pitcher of draft was $2.50. We weren't doing too much at night, and that was a problem. So how are we going to solve that problem? We decided to give away a keg of beer every Wednesday night. Now that attracted people, okay? But the problem was a lot of those people weren't too well versed in their social graces, you know? And I mean, I'll be honest with you, the place in here seemed more like the Jerry Springer show than a bar, and even out in the parking lot, it was just craziness. Now this was drawing the attention of the alcoholic beverage control people, and so how to get rid of the people that didn't know how to behave in a bar. Well, we decided that if we had a band and charged the cover charge, then it would keep out a lot of these people, which it did.
But we're gonna slow things down a little bit.
It is actually the second oldest blues music venue in the United States, second only to Antone's in Austin, Texas. And it is the oldest with the same continuous owner, which of course is Nick. It opened December 22nd, 1973, and it is beyond an institution. It is part of the fabric of Charlotte history and music history in America. The first major show that was here was the Dixie Dregs. It was 2 nights in June of 1976. The band was booked by the original entertainment booker, Dave Long. Soon after that show, the Dixie Dregs did a show with the Nighthawks. The Nighthawks were looking for a gig on the Southeast, and the Dixie Dregs recommended, hey, there's this great bar in Charlotte called the Double Door. Come on down. Nighthawks came down soon afterwards, had a great night.
A pretty girl, a Cadillac, and some money.
At the end of that night, Mark Wenner said, hey, I've got a list of bands. You should book these bands. And it was Robert Lockwood Jr., it was Skip Castro, Catfish Hodge. That was the blueprint for the bands that would play here over the next 40 years.
It's a dump. It's a dump. But it's a nice dump. And it's a dump that has been manipulated to be a nice venue, a good music venue with several stages of listening. You can be back behind where you are playing pool, or you can be right where you are but still in another room from the band. You can be seated all the way in the front. You can be seated at the bar. Maybe you're too cool to be out in the general audience. You're cool at the bar and you know the bartender.
Stevie has played here a number of times, and the first few times I didn't live far from here at the Double Door. And I remember coming to sound check, and he was extremely loud. And at the time, either you loved his playing or you hated how loud he played. And so he started playing to a very small crowd initially.
The Double Door only wanted to be one thing, where a lot of venues want to be all things to all people.
The Double Door represented this intimate interaction between performer and audience. And that had to do with closeness, and it had to do with spontaneity. Charlotte has a very long music history, a very long music tradition. And of course, one of the things that so enriches the music tradition of the South are black people and hillbillies, which really was the mixture that brought rock and roll about.
I'm traveling around, I've been across, I've been to Europe and toured. People there like, oh, the Double Door. You know, when you mentioned you're from Charlotte, you're a musician from, have you ever played the Double Door?
One shades of green woven into conversation of the day, talking descent, talking down.
So the first time we played the Double Door is 1989, and it just so happened that the Blue Dogs were at the level where we were looking for our first club, really our first club appearance in Charlotte ever. And the Double Door was the legendary room, but it was the right room. You know about Neil Young? And you know about, there's a song on his record from 1976 called American Stars and Bars. That's the one that had Like a Hurricane. There's a song on there called Bite the Bullet. And the very first line is, there's a barroom queen down in Charlotte town, bite the bullet. And I'm pretty sure that that's about the Double Door. And that Neil Young probably, he either stepped in here or one of his roadies stepped in here and that met a girl, and that's how he heard the story. And then, something went on.
These posters here were done by Everett Carpenter. He designed our logo. It's a very, very nice logo, and I go, okay, that's great. How much do I owe you? He said, well, why don't you just let me and a guest in for free to your shows? I said, okay. So that was the deal. So he got like 40 years of music. Now, who would have known we would have been here so long?
People heard about it and started calling him, and eventually it became, a stopping point for everyone. The one thing I always liked about the Double Door is it didn't matter what class of person you were, how much money you made. I've seen from poor to rich, from famous to nobody up there. It's a warm feeling with the bartenders back there that have been there. Mike, been there forever.
Same old sidewalks, yeah. Leads me back to then. A time and a place, a piece in a life, a day and a year.
The sound, the Double Door has a great sound. Love that stage. I'm just always comfortable there. It's easy to balance yourself with the other guys.
It was just like, it's like going home. Love the place, you know, and there's just something about it. The building is just one part of it. I mean, the funky dressing room, and you know, it's weird and it's funky and it's alternate, it's bohemian. But it's not just the building, it's just the people that just sort of gravitated there over the years to hear various bands, and it's always packed. I'm real grateful for that.
Well, you know, we were a pretty wild band in the Alley Cats. So we were partiers, and we used to stay around the corner at a hotel called the New Imperial. I'm sure they've torn it down. I hope they've torn it down. But anyway, we came through and we were completely unknown. We played 3 sets of blues and rhythm and blues, and the city of Charlotte and the Double Door really embraced us. So we came here not knowing what to expect. And here it is 37 years later, and I'm still coming to town. You know, you can look at the pictures on the wall, and you don't even need to say anything. You just look at the pictures. And you can see people like Jimmy Thackeray or me, you know, when we were a lot younger. And then people who are coming up nowadays and playing. And it's a rite of passage to play here. And if you want to get known, at least in the blues world or in the roots rock world, all roads, at least through this area, lead to the Double Door.
You know, people look at the pictures on our walls and I kind of think, you know, if we had every picture of every person that played here, there would be no room anywhere. I mean, it would cover the floors. When we started doing music about 75 into 76, you could get to 60 rockers. You could get Elvin Bishop, get John Sebastian, you could get, these 60 rockers were just sitting at home. And everybody forgot them for a little bit. The top echelon of the blues people at that time weren't commanding much money either. So fortunately for us, we could get Buddy Guy in here and Coco Taylor, and we could get those people in here right off at the beginning because we could afford it.
Ain't it the blues?
There's definitely a vibe there that's got a lot to do with the history, you know? So many great people have played there. I mean, you know, you have all the obvious icons, but there are a lot of sort of great, you know, sort of smaller name people that have played there, and I think that stuff has sort of permeated the walls and the ceilings and the floors, and, you know, business establishments that are run by cool people, you sort of get the vibe that the place is cool.
Today is a more challenging world than it used to be in 1979. That seems young and innocent by today's standards. And when you come out to a place like this, the world is as it should be. All kinds of people getting together and being happy and usually being nice to each other, rather than fighting and exaggerating their differences. Good music and a good place to play it in brings people together. I can see the audience from the bandstand. Even with lights in my eyes, but with sunglasses on, I can see what they're doing, I can see how they're reacting.
They listen. They listen. That's it. I've played in some places before where people are sitting beside me carrying on a conversation so loud that I can't even hear what I'm doing.
It was always something that you look forward to. You know, every 8 weeks or whenever you got to play here. You knew that there was going to be a good crowd. You knew it was going to be a lot of fun. You knew you were going to make good money, to be honest. I mean, you know, you knew it was going to be a good night all the way around.
The coolest thing about the Double Door is that it was a small venue and it was an up-close, personal kind of experience. And it was a place where people that really dig music come to hear really good music. And in that format, so they're close to the artists are close to him, and it's a very intense energy that I think all artists thrive on. One of the quintessential Double Door stories in general is the Eric Clapton night.
I feel that I'm a reliable eyeball witness to the night that Clapton appeared at the Double Door. It was a Thursday night, and we were booked here for a Thursday night gig, the Watch Cats. About the time we were wrapping up our first set, I looked over to the doorway, and there was a familiar figure. It was Clapton and, you know, sort of his entourage just coming in the door. So I said, all right, guys, one more. Clapton got up and jammed with the legendary blues band.
Stayed up till about 4 in the morning, sitting at the bar just drinking, like he and I side by side, just having a conversation, talking about everything. He was the most laid-back cat.
We played every Sunday for almost 10 years. There's actually a part of a year or two where we played Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So, yeah, we played there a lot. The Federal Bureau of Rock and Roll was like around 80. And then we did the Federal Brothers after that. So anytime I had a new project or a new band or whatever, we would always try to play the Double Door.
I got the gig with the Federal Brothers, I believe. Well, there's several reasons, actually. One, I had a van I could haul us in. I had a PA, and I was short enough to fit in with them. I ran sound here for probably 10 years or more. You know, the fabulous Thunderbirds were here, and another great show. I remember hearing their Tough Enough tune. I distinctly remember hearing that one and thinking, daggum, that needs to be on the radio. That's a hit. I hope they record that darn thing. And it was only a couple months later, I hear it on the radio and go, yeah, cool.
This song is worth about $1.
If I weren't leaving.
For a long time, the Avett Brothers had a residency here. I think it was a Wednesday night. They actually recorded their first live album here on April 17th of 2002.
Every street looks familiar, but you don't recognize the place.
Doubting Thomas is one of the bands that I was in. Americana Night was started by Doubting Thomas on a Tuesday night. It started out being just a Tuesday night thing. We decided that we were going to do all of our new material and hang out on Tuesday night, and it got very popular really soon.
Really, the Double Door was one of the first places locally that supported that kind of music, where if you were playing some of that, that country meets rock and roll sound, you know, the Double Door's always been eclectic.
The stage is like a well-seasoned cornbread pan. And every single board in the building has vibrated into just the right spot, you know? So it sounds good. You put the right ingredients up there and it's gonna happen.
What makes the show so special here at the Double Door Inn is the sonic space that we're sitting in now. It's the room. I'm a performer myself and played just about everywhere on the East Coast. And it's the room. It's a great sounding space.
My first band was kind of known, we were known to drink a lot of tequila. And so there used to be a little sidebar, you know, right on the stage. It's open now, you can just kind of step through, but there was a railing there. And every time we would be playing, and this is a CD release party, by the way, and I'm gonna guess this is back in 1997.
Hold your mouth just right to get the lock open.
And there are shots of tequila lined up for days over there, you know, and people are buying it. partying. And I finally started having to pour it in my boot to get rid of it. And it was kind of like, you know, you look around and none of us could find our way off the stage at that point, you know, and we still had to make music and the room was packed. It's like, what are you gonna do with this? You know, you can't be rude and just act like you don't want it. So I learned how to pour it into my boot to get rid of it.
The night Hurricane Hugo hit, which was September of 1989, there was a band from Hilton Head, the Truly Dangerous Swamp Band. I can remember leaving and it was a light mist outside. The sky was ultraviolet pink and very calm before the storm. It was just the most bizarre, eerie feeling. I remember getting home at about 2:45, the television went out, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, all the power went out, and I woke up the next morning at 7 a.m. and to see the massive amount of destruction.
Well, the characters of the people that were on stage and off stage had a filter throughout this whole place. Maybe they wrote graffiti upstairs in the wall, or it's all part of going to the Double Door and saying, I love this place. Now, as for the grit and the grind, well, things that are real are not always clean. They have dirt, they have character, and that's what the Double Door has.
I mean, when you think about, you know, some of the days that, you know, when Matt was working here, you can never tell what Matt would be doing. We're going to steer clear of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Matt would be sitting there and there'd be some girl next to him and you'd have to do a double take to see what was going on, and then all of a sudden, here, watch the door, and he's gone. So, I mean, you know, Matt's a trip. I mean, live music doesn't have the same draw that it used to. You see that the kids that don't go out as often, they're more in tune to doing whatever they're doing downtown at the Epicenter. They're on their phones.
This has a culture, a music, an energy, a vibe that has been here for, it captured something in the 70s that was already present in the 60s. Carried 60s and 70s music, culture, expression, a bit of freedom, a little bit of fun, a whole lot of partying, and carried it for 40 years. And that's what we'll be missing.
I used to joke about when we'd be on stage, and I'd say, all right, be sure to tip your bartenders because you know, we've got to add a little something to Martino's retirement fund. I think I've been making that joke for like 25 years now.
My life here has cost me plenty. I mean, I'll be honest with you, it cost me a marriage. I've had a great time, met some great people, but when you sit here knowing that you're going to be starting over again, it's damn depressing, and it's sad. And it's sad not only for me, for the rest of my staff, for Nick, because you're going to wake up on that Tuesday and know that, hey, that shit's done.
I feel sorry for the next generation of players that are coming up that won't have this place.
For anybody who asks, I will say, yeah, the Double Door was a cool place. I wish you'd been there.
Gonna make people cry with this thing, right? I get choked up talking about the Double Door.
Yeah. Other venues can't hold a candle to this place. I can't. God, I'm gonna miss it when it's gone. This is it's been home for me for
a lot of years.
I almost think we might have to get a support group or something, maybe. Yeah. I think the friendships should last forever.
Hey, we can't save the double door, but we can make sure it's never forgotten. And we will.
I'm gonna miss the double door, from the crowded bar to the wooden floors, and all you people that we're singing for. I'm gonna miss it. And it feels like home when we take the stage. It feels like home when we get to play. I'm gonna miss those guys behind the bar. You know they are the real rock stars. The guys working the door are the best by far. I'm gonna miss it. And it feels like home when we take the stage. It feels like home when we get to play.
The guys that run the sound, you know they are the best around. They don't ever turn us down. I'm gonna miss it. I'm gonna miss you folks that like to dance. Gave this band a fighting chance. It's right here where we made our stance. I'm gonna miss it.
And it feels like home when we take the stage. It feels like home when we get to play. Say Clapton played here, I guess that's true. But so did a lot of my brothers and sisters too. For the Sponge Tones, Donna Duncan, and the Federal Boys. Raise your beer now and make some noise. And it feels like home when we take the stage. It feels like home when we get to play. I'm gonna miss the double door and everything it stands for.
Like so many friends not here no more, I'm gonna miss it.